This stuff is good. Hey y'all, Jezza here, and welcome to Welcome to Naked Jezza News. How do I do this? Ah, shit. Oh man, that's some sticky stuff. So, viewer, have you ever tried strawberry jam? When's the last time you've consumed strawberry jam? Do you remember just how much of a wonderful attack it feels like? Because the story goes, Animal Collective were on a plane, and Panda Bear got some little strawberry jam packets for whatever airplane food they were eating. And for some reason, in that specific moment, he thought, I wonder what this sounds like as music. I wonder what the taste of strawberry jam would translate into in musical form. I mean, obviously that's not the sole reason they made this album, but using a food, a flavor, as a sort of reference point for the music they wanted to make is a pretty interesting idea. At this point in the middle of the 2000s, Panda Bear was very interested in pop music. He had been making some really great poppy stuff in the background, and I guess he felt the poppy push forward and feels just wasn't enough. Strawberry Jam is the first Animal Collective album where pop is very clearly the focus. Oh, I'm sorry. I hate this already. You don't know the context behind this. This can so easily be taken the wrong way, don't worry. I want to explain it a little, but maybe it's funnier if I just give you no context. It's a Discord thing if you want to find out. Link is in the description. So I don't know if you've connected the dots already from the video length to the really over-the-top intro, but I really love Strawberry Jam. Of Animal Collective's pop-era albums, I'd have to say this is by far my favorite. In fact, 9 times out of 10, I'd probably say this is my favorite Animal Collective album in general. I love this album on almost every front. Remember what I was saying about Feels, about how every member felt like they were equally contributing? They were all operating at maximum capacity to make some really great music. Here, it somehow sounds like they've supersaturated their capacity and they're even better. This album just set the bar that much higher. So again, Panda Bear definitely had a lot of influence on this new direction that they started to take, but it does not feel like he held any of the other members back at all. Avi is weirder than ever. In fact, I'd wager this is the wildest you'll ever hear Avi. There's more screams than ever on this album. Up to this point, this is now their most electronic album, so that's definitely a lot of help from Geologists. And even though there's not that much guitar here compared to previous albums, the guitar bits that are there are very memorable. Very first thing I think of is Forever and Green. So boom, it's even a hi-hat on the deacon front. It's the same consistency of quality as Feels, only this much more nuts. And this much more catchy. You can argue against this on later albums, but on this album, the pop influence just made it. And I've said this so much that it may as well be a drinking game, but once again, they've created something that just doesn't sound like anything else. And this is still not the last time they're gonna do that! Here's the basic scope on what this album sounds like. Element number 1, it's very poppy and it's very fun. Simple and easy to understand, right? Element number 2, it can at the very same time sound very aggressive and dangerous sounding. And this can be done via screaming, random fits of noise, weird samples, deconstructive intros and outros. And these first 2 elements form the basis of why the Strawberry Jam concept even came to be. In interviews they often describe Strawberry Jam, this one, as sweet but aggressive tasting. And that's the perfect way to describe this album. Sweet but aggressive. Sugary but shouty. Element 3, Animal Collective's reoccurring theme of nostalgia. The best songs in this album, which are also some of the best Animal Collective songs in general, just revolve around nostalgic themes. And that's something that they've always done well whenever they do it. Even on weaker albums, nostalgia can be the saving grace. If anything, themes of nostalgia and childhood may as well just be Animal Collective's unannounced manifesto. And I'm so glad they latch onto that because they do it really well. Element number 4, the weird electronic approach. They like to use loops and little repetitions, and somehow they can put together a few simple loops and make it sound so much greater than it actually is. If you know this album, you just know I'm talking about Peacebone. Ooh, I can't wait to talk about Peacebone. On top of that, there's more sampling than ever in this Animal Collective release. Well, not as much as the next few, but those don't exist yet. Seems to me, fresh off the heels of Person Pitch, Panda Bear's already utilizing samples in Animal Collective's music. And a lot of them on this album are used in a very simplistic fashion. Cuckoo, for example, revolves around a small little piano sample. It never overpowers the music until it becomes all that it is, like in Person Pitch. It's merely used as one of the many elements at play. Element number 5, as much as it can be pure, mindless, zany fun, it can also get pretty moody and introspective, or sometimes a mix of the two. It's like a big reminder that just because you're trying to make some really serious, touching music doesn't mean you're not allowed to also have fun. And vice versa, because then there's a lot of other fun music out there that just sounds like it has no depth to it. And I'm not trying to say that this album's like oh, so deep. But if you don't feel things when you listen to Forever and Green, I don't think you're human. Fireworks too, holy heg. It's about time I talk about this track by track. This album opens up with Peacebone, and I gotta tell you right now, every time, without fail, this comes on in the car, I will sing it. I feel like I've sung along to Peacebone more than any other song, honestly. I don't know, it feels somewhat rewarding hitting those high notes. Anyways, the song, and the entire album too, just opens up with Bonefish. And then just all kinds of electronic noises, all these different loops, and it's all just pure chaos swirling around you, and then Bonefish appears again, and all of a sudden it all starts to get into some sort of rhythm, and it all starts to make sense, and it all starts to sound like a song, and the drums start to come in, and you get the bum bum bum. And for the rest of the song, it's Avy's catchiest vocals, cymbals and monster-like sound effects coming in and out. Whenever the chorus hits, a few more subtle little layers come in. I didn't even notice the marimbas until like my 20th listen, and it works so much better than a lot of songs out there, even though it's made up of a few simple repetitions. But these electronic repetitions are so good, I feel like they realized they didn't really need to do much else. Or shoot, that's the song. We've already struck gold, we may as well try not to ruin it. There's an entire section after the second chorus just dedicated to Avy screaming. Like they literally gave Avy his own section in this song to just scream. How awesome is that? Meanwhile, there's Panda in the background providing the melody. I love it. Then Unsolved Mysteries comes in, which is way more toned down. Honestly, I think Unsolved Mysteries is the most normal sounding song on the album. It's definitely much more relaxed. More of the same bizarro storybook lyrics that Peacebone had. That blood in the dark will attract the sharks. I've never really looked too much into the lyrics of the more fun tracks on this album. They're not the kind of tracks that warrant that, and I don't really think I'd gain anything from learning some sort of weird interpretation of whatever the nonsense on Peacebone is. Not to say that there is no meaning on these tracks, but I don't need any meanings to enhance my experience for them. They are top quality fun, and that's all I want. Peacebone is just one of my favorite songs in general, and heck if I know what that's about. And I even know all the lyrics, I sing them all the time. The lyrics don't matter all that much. Although they do a few tracks down the line. They definitely do. Despite being a respectable follow-up to Peacebone, I've never really thought all that much about Unsolved Mysteries. It feels weird calling it the weakest song on the album because it is a really good song. But I guess just compared to the super high bar that Peacebone and Forever and Green sets, it's easy to forget how great a lot of these songs are in the face of these top quality outliers. Because Unsolved Mysteries definitely does have its place, especially considering it's in between two of the most high energy tracks on the album. Because then you get track 3, Chores. Here we have the first song on the album where Panda Bear's doing lead vocals, and he is singing fast. This is a very fast-paced song, at least in the first half. And this song is a total jam, all puns intended. Oh my gosh, the title's even more genius than I thought. But yeah, the song is split into two halves, with the aggressive, high-energy first half and the slower, ambient second half. Animal Collective never fully do away with ambient sections, and even though up until this point this is their least ambient album, there it still is. Some of the energy starts to seep back into the second half. Some slower loops of drums and electronics come back in. Noah starts vocalizing completely different melodies. It's a cool track the way it keeps changing in only like, what, 4 minutes? And it sets the stage perfectly for Forever and Green. Forever and Green is widely regarded by many fans as their best song. But yeah, it's my favorite song on the album, and it's my favorite album from them, so yeah, I guess it's my favorite too. Purple Bottle, you're good, but you're not as good as Forever and Green. Sorry, Alvin Rowe. Sorry, In the Flowers. And sorry, Peacebone. Even you, the song I've sung more than any other song, you're not as good as Forever and Green. The song starts as just this guitar that echoes into the background, which immediately, right off the bat, gives the song a large, epic feel to it. Then the drums and the electronics start to come in, and after building up anticipation, looping a little longer, the main chord progression starts to come in. And what I absolutely love about the way they set up this song, just musically, instrumentally, is that the vocals, the main melody, all of that is set to a 7/8 time signature, but the drums are not, so every other bar feels like the beat kind of changes up a little bit. Sometimes the drums are going with the vocals, sometimes they're going in the middle spaces. It keeps going back and forth, and that just makes this track even more interesting to listen to. So then Avy comes in, and he has never felt more passionate and invested in the song that he's singing for. Of all the Animal Collective songs dealing with themes of nostalgia and childhood, this one is the best, and the lyrics are the greatest they've ever been. He sings about all these hardships of modern life, and he contrasts it directly with how kids are just so innocent, carefree, how kids will stay happy even when they hurt themselves, lose possessions. And then he speaks directly to his experience being in the band and how that has kind of kept a lot of that spirit of childhood intact, which immediately recontextualizes the album not just as these guys having fun, they're keeping their inner child alive and they're trying not to let it die. And it's honestly really sad because a lot of the time you just forget that you were even a child. It may as well have been a different life that never actually happened. Wonderland. And I'm so glad there's music out there like this that just reminds me of that. Then there's a bridge where Avi just screams the name of this song, which makes it very clear and obvious that the title is actually Forever in Green. 10 out of 10. Forever in Green is followed up by Fireworks, which operates at almost the same level. It operates on a very similar moody basis. And this song paints a picture of someone just going by business day to day, wishing for something more, wishing for the older days. Once again, Avi's lyrics are on point. A lot of what I could say about Fireworks I already kind of just said for Forever in Green. They evoke a lot of the same feelings, my sentiments towards them are similar. And then you get the rest of the album, starting with number 1. Weirdest song on the album by far. What I believe is a constantly descending keyboard kind of loops for the entire song. It kind of bugs me that it's not in time with the other elements of the song, but at the same time, you don't really notice it all that much as soon as all the other elements are in full force. Still, it's like the main beat of this song is on one tempo and this sample's on another. I don't know, it kind of bugs me. Very robotic vocals, drenched in effects. Number 1 almost sounds like it came out of some really weird cartoon. Then you get Winter Wonderland, another one of the zanier songs on the album. I think Winter Wonderland is underrated. Super underrated. The way it's set up is just so hype sounding, and I love how fast the chorus is. It is the least wintry sounding winter song, and for some reason that just adds to the charm to it for me. I'm gonna say it. Winter Wonderland is a banger. I'm sorry, I know, I said the word. Then you get Cuckoo, Cuckoo, one of the most introspective tracks on the album. It's fairly minimal during the normal verses, just a piano loop and some electronics here and there. But then there's a very powerful quality to the chorus. Like they slam the drums and everything as hard as they can at the beginning of every line. Or sometimes they'll do a small roll. And every time after the chorus is done, it's like every instrument picks up. Every piece of percussion they have is being slammed. They're wailing in the background, they bring in random noises. Pretty dang sure I hear ducks. There's ducks in this song. It's so weird how well these random fits of noise work in this song, because then it's just back to the piano. Then you got the closer, Derek, which operates on a very low-key basis compared to the other songs. It's subtle, but I've come to appreciate just how well it works as the closer. Pretty much, it's the sweetest song on the album, and it does away with a lot of the crazy chaos from before. There's no screaming, nothing's too in your face, and Panda's doing the vocals. It's not even Avi. It's what you'd expect if they made this album more normal. And then the second half comes in with simple pounding drums, and the album ends with a very great melodic chant from Panda Bear. In a way, it's kind of got a that's it, that's the show kind of quality to it. You are allowed to get up and leave now. And with that, I say, you are now allowed to get up and leave now. Get rid of this. Stupid. This literally makes no sense. It's not supposed to, oh crud. How am I supposed to dispose of that without thinking I do weird things in here? Oh crud, I didn't think of that. In short, I think that Strawberry Jam by Animal Collective is an album that you need to experience. It's like a zany roller coaster ride of fun and feels. It just works so well on all kinds of different fronts. And I'd say without a doubt this is one of my favorite pop albums in general. I would love more music that is as crazy, as exhilarating, and as poppy as Strawberry Jam. It's a one of a kind. This has been Jezza. I'm gonna go finish my snack now. Tune in next time when they get even more poppy. Who would have guessed? Love this stuff. But my canker sore doesn't.
I have a Discord, it's pretty funny.